right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buccaneers Daily. So we are a couple weeks into training camp. We are a week away from preseason, still a little over a month away from the regular season. Training camp has been going solid for the Buccaneers, still trying to figure out who's QB1. We probably won't know that until at least Game 2 of preseason is over. Wouldn't be surprised if they waited all the way until preseason was done. Seems like it's Baker's job to lose at this point. However, Kyle Trask in recent days, or in this past week especially, has been really ramping it up and impressing. But yeah, we've been covering it, and we're going to continue to cover it. And so I thought today we'd take a little bit of a spin. So I was just reading around Bleacher Report, not my favorite place to read NFL articles, but came across a article that was talking about how chaotic will the NFL season be in 2023, hypotheticals that would turn the NFL on its head. We're going to live react to the Buccaneers. Basically, they're saying the Buccaneers are going to hold a mid-season fire sale. I don't think that is far-fetched. I don't think that's a hot take. I don't think that would turn the NFL on its head, and it makes a ton of sense. So I guess here's the excerpt. Another team that's declining fast but seemingly hasn't fully accepted it. I mean, come on, look at Seattle last year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers posted a losing record and were clobbered by the Cowboys in last year's playoffs and took more hits this offseason. Yet the Bucs are aware this division is weak and have clung to several veterans from their Super Bowl run in 2020. Not a huge fan of that word choice, clung. Anyways, if they discover they aren't competitive even in the wide open NFC South relatively early this year, they could shake up the playoff picture inside or outside of their conference by dealing a veteran or veterans like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Levante David, or Shaq Barrett. All are extremely experienced and proven difference makers, and if they can be ahead mid-season for pennies on the dollar by teams desperate to add that final piece to the puzzle, playoff races could shift dramatically. Oh, okay, so I see. Now, the whole article, the whole reason it was that is because they could shift the playoff race. Okay, I was so confused because I'm like, this isn't really a hot take at all. I love using the example of the Seattle Seahawks from this past season. The difference from Seattle at this time last year and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now is one of those two teams won a Super Bowl in the last, 3 or 4 seasons. You know, Seattle had a great 2010 era, and they did win a Super Bowl relatively recently. But with that being said, the Buccaneers, this was just a couple of years ago, right? So, it's not a situation like the Rams where they bought so many players and it was basically for like a 1 to 2 year Super Bowl run. It pretty much was boom or bust for that year. And then, this past season, the 2022 season, it could have gone either way. They were losing some pieces. However, if they were healthy, the Rams still had a competent roster. The Buccaneers still have a very competent roster. I just think our star players, our superstar players, or even just our talent, some of those guys that were mentioned, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, a lot of the Buccaneers players are not like 34, 35-year-old former stars that are just kind of holding on and still putting up good output, but, they're like 34 or 35. That's not the case for the Buccaneers. So, fire sale, no fire sale, I actually don't really care. That's not really a hypothetical that interests me because we're going to know these answers in literally probably 2 months from now, what the Buccaneers' future is at least trending towards, get a better idea of what it's looking like. If you guys have been watching this channel, you know how optimistic I am. When you have these really talented rosters, especially the Buccaneers defense, especially the threats he has, whoever QB1 is going to be, he has on offense, I don't see the Buccaneers being worse than 5 wins. I think 5 wins at the absolute worst is if that route would be whoever the QB is clearly isn't the guy, and it clearly isn't positively impacting the games or taking over these games, and the defense pretty much decimated by injuries, or the team in general decimated by injuries. Not a great hypothetical, but you get the point here. The Buccaneers roster is talented enough where their roster alone, regardless of QB1, so many people are getting caught up on who's QB1. I don't think it matters as much as people think. For the future is what I'm more concerned about as far as the quarterbacks go, right? The Buccaneers have a roster that will win football games. And with the NFC South especially, no matter how the Buccaneers start or whatever, they should be, even if they don't start good, they'll be close enough at all points unless the Saints like rattle off 13 wins, which I don't see happening. I think they're being overhyped right now. But you get the point here. The Buccaneers, for me, have such a good roster, and that's going to win you football games, okay? Quarterback-wise, I am pretty split because Baker Mayfield selected, 5 years ago at pick number 1? That's not that long ago. It really isn't that long ago. Baker Mayfield has this mentality. He's a hardcore dude. He's very, very passionate about football. And that's who I want as my quarterback. I want a guy who loves the game of football. But Baker Mayfield has this chip on his shoulder because the Browns gave up on him, so he goes to Carolina. Carolina's offense was a complete mess. And here's the thing. People like to say this about Baker's tenure in Carolina. They say he wasn't winning and he had CMC and blah, blah, blah. What people don't realize is Matt Rule was the guy in Carolina. Matt Rule effing sucked, man. He sucked. Now, this isn't biased because this is the Buccaneers channel. Matt Rule's an idiot. The dude's an idiot. Okay, maybe that's a little aggressive, but he was not the dude for that job. I have a hard time imagining whoever was in Carolina on offense last season, no matter who you could put anybody except, like maybe an elite quarterback. I have a hard time imagining that season would have gone well because Matt Rule was not suited. It's like Matt Patricia. It's like, it's not like Matt Patricia because Matt Patricia was literally only a defensive coach, and then I don't know how he got the offensive coordinator job, but Matt Rule had success in college. You get the point. Whoever was quarterback last year for the Panthers before Rule got fired was gonna suck. He was gonna suck. Baker didn't really suck. Goes to the Rams, finishes strong. He led Cleveland to the playoffs. This was only a couple of seasons ago, a little over a couple of seasons ago, that he led Cleveland to the playoffs. Gets injured, they gave up on him. Now, the knock on Baker is that he has the most interceptions in the league since he came into it. I get that knock. I definitely get that knock. Now, with Kyle, so basically my point is I'd love to see Baker Mayfield be the starter again just to see what there is. Baker was so good in college, and I think he was really good in Cleveland. So there's still like a ton of possible untapped potential there. With Kyle Trask, same thing applies. It's just, we haven't really seen him because he was playing behind the greatest quarterback of all time. So Kyle Trask was selected in the second round a couple of years ago to play behind Tom Brady, and it's like, Tom Brady rubbed off on him in the 2 years that they played together, and Kyle Trask feasted in college. So I'm 50-50 split, man. Whoever it is, I'm excited either way. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Go to the next quarterback. And if that doesn't work, you're going to probably not have a great record, and you're going to have a great draft pick, and here's 4 top 10 QBs onto your lap. That's it for today. Kind of turned into a little bit of a rant video, but yeah, stay tuned for more training camp content because we're going to do a week recap probably in the next day or so. So hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily Buccaneers content. Appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you later.